he told me I had a half hour. I thought, well, he probably thinks that's a lot of time to talk. But what he doesn't realize, and I think I failed to ever mention, is the fact that I used to give 2.5 hour lectures and you had a 15-minute potty break in the middle. And we'd talk about oceanographic stuff and environmental stuff. And I happened to be lucky enough to be in the right place at the right time to do some neat stuff. So all of it sober, by the way. I was having too much fun. Anyway, my sobriety date is October 12th, 2006, at the age of 68. Now, how can somebody go on drinking for so long that they never get a DUI until they're 68? Well, let me tell you, like Sheldon, I was a really nice drunk. And a nice drunk has got a lot of armor that angry drunks don't have, because everybody's trying to change the angry drunks. Even the police are happy with nice drunks. Do you know how many DUIs you can get if you're really polite and really nice to a cop? It's amazing, particularly if you have a combination unlimited Class A license. Anyway, I would never have come to AA had somebody not ran a red light and hit my liquor cabinet. It wasn't, you know, I couldn't tell, I couldn't explain to the officers that, well, you see, the reason I may be a little on the tipsy side is I ran out of morphine a couple of days ago. So all I have left is alcohol. And, I can't really explain to you, but I can walk a straight line. And considering I've only got 15% of the muscles in this one leg, and I'm going in for surgery, post-polio surgery, to relearn to walk again. So, losing my driving privileges for a month didn't mean anything. I was more concerned about walking privileges. Anyway, the problem with being a nice drunk, because nobody's trying to change you, and my wife said, oh, I would have left you years ago if you weren't a nice drunk. Well, what does that say about you when you're not drunk? Oh my goodness. I could be a mean son of a bitch. My children didn't say no to their dad that I remember. They were very careful about that. And you know what? If you get angry at somebody and you're cold and cool enough, you can get even without leaving tracks. And that was one of my specialties. So it doesn't say much about my character sober, really. But because I was drinking, I didn't consider it excessively. I was always obsessive about drinking things like milk as a child and eating. I did everything compulsively, basically. I have a compulsive disorder besides being ADH and dyslexic and a whole bunch of other learning problems, supposedly. The reason I think I was such a nice drunk is I never had the God problem. You know what? They're the kick-ass miracles. And I've heard people in AA say, well, show me a miracle, a burning bush, and I'll believe. Well, hell, burning bushes, you can do that with flash powder. If you want to turn the river red, Rhodaman B. dye, a 55-gallon drum of it, I can turn the Columbia River red. It's really a strong dye. But the kick-ass miracles are the polio or the cripple stands up and walks. The blind man can see and the dead comes back to life. How weird is that? You know what, folks? I've done all three. I've done all three. How the hell does that happen? Well, to me, a 4-year-old can't explain God. So I never felt obligated to explain God to anybody. All I knew is, well, maybe God is sort of like love, but the Greeks have 7 words for love, and the closest thing would be agape. And, that's a love for everybody without expectations. That was a familiar word in AA. And so, um, that's the kind of God I had. The problem with my God is my God didn't care about whether I drank or not. That was going to be Ralph's responsibility to care about. 2 yuppie beers in the morning, a bottle of Pinot Gris at lunch, 750 mils, and then finish the day with some Lipton tea, either hot or cold, depending on the weather, and maybe 6 to 12 ounces of vodka to dilute the tea. That was my standard dose. The problem is I was 30 pounds overweight and my blood pressure was going through the roof. And I had to start coming to these damn AA meetings. And, I only stopped drinking twice, by the way. Without AA, I lasted 4 months and I was back to my standard dose exactly. And with AA, I've lasted 18 years. But more importantly, in the first 13 years, I got the body back of a younger person. I lost the 30 pounds. I was within 2 pounds of my high school weight. And yes, you know what I learned about kayaking in the middle of winter when it's snowing? You know, when a snowflake touches the water, there's no droplet. It absorbs without making a ripple. A raindrop hits and makes a little ripple. Not with snow. Kind of magical. And in that magical place that I found myself in, I ended up rowing. It's only 3 miles from my house. I launch at the end of my street and I row a mile and a half and I row a mile and a half back. It takes 18 minutes to 22 minutes. And with a kayak, it's 820 strokes. And with my rowing shell, it was 440, plus or minus 5. And that became my meditation time. I got my body back and I got my mind back. And all this esoteric bullshit that people talk about in these meetings, I started thinking about. And you know what I decided? The essence of life is hope. That's simple. That sums it up. That's the whole kit and caboodle. What is hope? It's an expectation for a better future, regardless of your past. Things that used to bother me when I first came to AA meetings. Grateful alcoholic. We had one gal. Oh, I'm a grateful alcoholic. Oh, shit, give me a break. And then honest in all our affairs. Oh, come on now. You mean to say you could be honest and have an affair and multiple? The only way you can deal with that is just not say anything to anybody about anything. And then you might be able to get away with it for quite a while. The last absurd one was let go and let God. Okay, well, if you're a climber and you're rappelling off of a cliff and you listen to this AA slogan about letting go, what the hell's going to happen to you if you let go rappelling? Well, you know what? If you do everything that you're supposed to do right, which means you have a safety line, if you let go of that rappelling line, you'll drop, but the safety line will catch you and you'll swing back and forth like a pendulum. So, if you do everything right, it's amazing how well your life can turn out. And when I get to the end, I'm going to tell you about another little episode that I had 5 weeks ago. But one of the things that's kind of important, well, I decided that the Water's Edge meeting was the hope factory for the people that are hopeless. And you know, the steps are suggestions. We have book bangers, just like they have Bible bangers that say, you got to do it, you got to do it in this procedure. They are suggestions because people like Sheldon aren't going to take orders. They're used to being the captain of the ship. And so it has to be a suggestion, not a you shoulda. And the other thing that I come to enjoy in coming to meetings was what I called seeing the light of life come on in people's eyes. I learned to read their eyes. Some of these hotshot attorneys that are really good in trials and juries and stuff, they know how to read the eyes. Well, we can all do that if we just pay attention and listen and watch the eyes, whether the person can speak or not. Anyway, death changes you forever. My obituary date is August 29th, 2019. Technically, I think when you stop breathing and your heart stops, that's kind of like death. I will tell you that there was no light at the end of the tunnel. There was no purgatory or whatever else. There was nothing. Master switch was thrown. And the biggest problem with dying that way is you don't get to say goodbye, I love you, or I'm sorry. Those were all removed. I was on life support for an unknowable length of time. It was apparently a week to 2 weeks. And they spent a lot of time trying to keep me alive. I would visit death again 2 other ways, actually. The first was my kidneys failed. When you're 80 years old and your kidneys fail, you're not going to get a redo. Dialysis every other day sucks all the energy out of your life. It's a death march. And you know what? Because I refused to let go of this thing, the essence of life, which was hope, one day the dialysis doctor said, well, the last dialysis report, you had 50 mils of urine. And this last check, you're at 150. I said, what? You may not have to do dialysis anymore. And I said, starting when? And he said, now. And you know, I felt this warm glow. When you have lost all your body fat and your legs and arms are spindles and your skin hangs loose, and you really look ugly. It's like Auschwitz, actually. I felt this warm glow, and that cold table wasn't cold anymore. And then the second time I felt that warm glow was the impending doom surgery, when the 5 neurosurgeons are standing over your bed and they have this scared look in their eyes. The last operation on my spinal cord failed. This is the last ditch effort. And you know what they told me? We're going to do the best we can. And there may be some plastic surgery necessary, but that would be down the road if you're still alive. They didn't say that. I knew what they were saying. And you know what I told them? And this was a voice that wasn't mine. I said, well, if you do the best you can, I can't expect more than that. But you and I both know that things could go south on you. And if they do, there's only one thing that I ask, and that is after you're done with me, please don't carry any baggage forward. Just remember your most important patient is not your last one, it's your next one. And I thought, who the hell said that? I haven't forgotten those words, and I said them just as I'm saying them to you now. And mind you, I'm laying on my back, unable to move my arms and my legs. Anyway, I came back. And then I shortly realized that this new Ralph had another miracle. I mentioned I was dyslexic, dysgraphic, and I have memory problems, and I should never have been a scientist in the first place. My mind doesn't work like the ordinary people's, apparently. But my mind came back better. You told me this meeting was at 7. I remembered that. I didn't need to write it down because you said 7, and okay, I got it. And when I was unable to read and write with my hands, and they'd come in and they were going to have an appointment on Tuesday, and it'll be the 23rd at 3 o'clock. And I think, okay, I'll just remember that. You know what? I remember Zoom meetings now. The whole damn number for 3 or 4 of them. That's weird. So for me, I was given this gift. And that gift was tested 5 weeks ago. Actually, 6 weeks ago. I was riding on an electric bike. Oh, by the way, I was never supposed to walk again. But I was riding on an electric bike, and I got T-boned by a Ford pickup that ran an arterial stop sign. My body got thrown about 15, 16 feet. I landed on concrete, flat, not slide. And I had all this damn safety gear on, like I had the safety line when I was belaying. I had motorcycle pants with hip pads and the whole outfit, full helmet. I bounced. And the doctor stripped me down and they examined my whole right side and said, well, I can't. And he was trying to explain. I said, and you don't see anything wrong? And he said, yeah. No torn skin, none of that stuff. I said, well, you can't give me a medical explanation, but I can sort of give you a non-medical one. You see, it's sort of like the hand of God just sort of caught me on the way down. The other weird thing is the guy who hit me was in shock. He was going to merge, and he was driving across this 30 feet of bike path into a merging mode, and he was turning right into me, looking the other way to see which cars he could get in on market. Or anyway, he said, I was looking the other way. And you know what my reply was? I understand. I wasn't angry. This is a really weird part about this new Ralph. One of the things I had learned in the hospital, there were over 200 people, and it was well over $500,000 to keep Ralph alive for 4 months. And then I went into a hospice place. I walked out of the hospice place on my own legs. And when I was laying there, unable to do anything to help anybody else, the fifth tradition, we should be willing to help somebody else. We think of help as, well, can I help you get up? Can I help carry your bags? I couldn't do any of that stuff. I couldn't even sit up. But I could help people with my voice. And I could listen to them. And the more I listened to them, the better I was able to escape my own predicament. It was better than fentanyl, which I had a lot of. Fentanyl isolated me and I'd be paranoid. But with trying to help others in the hospital. There's a lot of sick people in the hospital, and they're not all patients. But that empathy gave me one of the most valuable things besides this kind of relaxed peace was it gave me an opportunity to have humility. And once I could empathize with these, I had the best group of nurses in the dialysis clinic. These people were the gold standard of nursing. They met what I constructed as the 3 C's of the gold standard for nursing: care, competency, and compassion. And they had it all. And their contract was going to expire in another 30 days. And I was explaining to them a month before COVID started about how important their jobs were and that there would always be a need for them. I couldn't predict a 1 in 100 years pandemic, but that I was able to encourage them, to give them strength. And you know, of the over 200 people that worked on me, the burnout rate during the first 5 months of COVID was 20%. So for 200 people, that means there were 40 people that worked on me, and some of the best that worked on me either burned out or died during COVID. And so it keeps me very mindful of what a privilege it is to be able to wake up at 1:30 in the morning. Oh, I was on catheter and unable to pee for 2.5 years. And when I finally got free of that, it was like, geez, that was a real ball and chain. But the thing is that I had the freedom of all these choices because I refused to give up on hope. And the hope could be as slender as the IV tube that was my blood supply, a type O, Rh negative. 1 unit would keep me alive for 12 hours when my body wasn't making red blood cells. 2 units to make it through a day. But when I wake up at 1:30 in the morning, you know what I know for sure? I've got another day. I've got today. And that's the only one that matters. And if there's any way I can pass that message of hope on to even one person, and I don't even need to know who it is, if I can just do that for today, it's not a wasted day. And boy, am I glad that I'm still alive. I still, you know, the rewards, the promise, the grateful alcoholic I mentioned is being, I'm sorry, I'm not grateful. I am profoundly grateful. And when it says in the promises, we will comprehend serenity and we will know peace. I know peace profoundly. And you know, comprehending serenity doesn't mean you're going to be serene, because you can be in situations that just aren't serene. But you don't have to dwell there. And if you can carry that message of hope, you can escape. You know what life is like without road rage? There was some traffic on the freeway. What would it be like to drive on the freeway with 0 road rage? I kid you not. You know what I do? I roll down the windows. I wonder what the air smells like here. I have choices. When you're in the back of an emergency van, all you see is the ceiling, and sometimes out of the top end of the window, if you can move your head, you can see trees, and you can feel every manhole cover, and you can feel every damn expansion joint in the road. the freedom to be able to sit in a car and stop, park it if you want, or take a road you've never been on before and see something you've never seen before and smells things in the air that you never had time to think about. That's what makes my life different now. And when I tried to explain to somebody that I wouldn't wish the pain I went through on my worst enemy, you know, one of the things I realized, I don't have a worst enemy anymore. How did that happen? I really don't. There were people I was willing to make an offer they wouldn't refuse before. But you know, why would I want to waste a precious minute of today with anger? It's the most extravagant waste of our energy. Thank you.
Thank you, Al.